So today we are again on Daily Magazine Romania, and we have a legend with us, the one and only Gazebo, Paul Mazzolini. Mr. Paul Mazzolini is with us, and it's an honor to see you. Well, first of all, welcome to Daily Magazine. Welcome to our video. And first of all, how are you? How have you been doing this this last time? These particular times we've been living in.
Well, thank you for everything. It's a pleasure to be here today. I've been quite okay. I mean, apart from the fact that it's more than like a year and a half that I'm not on tour, so it's very hard for a musician not to be on tour. But again, I have my instruments here in the studio, and I can write songs and I can get ideas down. So, in the end, it was okay. I'm a lucky guy.
It's, first of all, it's good that we are all here and healthy and so on after all what happened, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the most important thing. I got vaccinated, and we hopefully are fine for the future.
Me too. I'm vaccinated, and from now on, I can only hope we can start again with life, with music, and with touring, and with concerts, because
Absolutely,
I just can't wait for music.
I imagine. Me too. Even for other concerts, other people, I normally would like to go and see concerts.
Mm-hmm. So
all this has been a problem for all of us.
Yeah. So normally you are also a concert person. You go and see, and also take, if I can say it like this, you take inspiration also from.
Yeah, it's very interesting too. I mean, of course, I listen to all sorts of music. So mainly, if I'll go to a concert, it's going to be something more into the jazz or rock thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I listen to normally. So it's always very interesting. It's always great to see other people's ideas and to meet them sometime, and it's very exciting.
Mm-hmm. So to enrich the experiences.
Absolutely, yes, it's very important.
So what do you think you have learned on a personal level about yourself and about the music in these last, I don't know, 14, 15 months that have passed since the corona crisis came in?
Well, I've been taking my life for granted, all these years. I've been taking it as a normal thing to be, on stage every weekend, or on a plane, or in another country, or So of course, not being able to do that for a long period is very it creates a sort of you don't feel balanced anymore. There's something missing. It's like walking without a leg, somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So but at the same time, it makes you think a lot about what you really want to do, and what are the priorities in your life, and you get time to sit down and think about it really seriously, and make plans for different things in life, which is also very viable, because although I've been a lucky musician for all these years, but I also realized that when I'll be 80, I will not be probably in the same shape or in the same conditions I'm trying to keep up now. So
but let's be honest, you're in great shape.
Thank you very much. It's because I'm very careful about what I eat. I do a lot of sports, but when you grow older, it's not easy, because the more you grow older, the less your body is elastic, and so you have to think about other things, about living what is left, living it well, trying to keep some time for yourself as well.
Yeah, I understand that, and somehow I realized this myself also, and taking the life before, as you said, for granted, when it came off, it really made you wonder what's going on with life now from now on.
Absolutely. It's like it's the same thing as, you know, when you're young, you know, you take for granted, yeah, your body, you can eat what you want, you can drink as much as you want, you know that you will recoup in about, you know, one night.
Mm-hmm.
When the more you grow old, the more you realize that it's, you know, things are harder every time. So it's when you work a lot, like I used to do, you don't have the time to think about it. You know, you just you come back from a gig and you give yourself 24 hours, and then you have to get ready for the next one. And so every day is like programming the next step. You know, and you never have time to program something in a long sort of wavelength. You know, a longer step. So finally, I've had time to think about it, and I have made my choices as well. You know, so
that's cool. Really great. That's really great, because you know it's been this kind of time that you couldn't predict what's going to happen in, like, I don't know, in a few months or in a year. Nobody knew, and I think nobody knows yet what will happen.
We never lived that. You know, we never had a pandemic like this in modern times, at least. And so, especially in this globalized world where everybody, you know, is traveling every minute, there's somebody on a plane from all the planets and all the continents on this planet. So, you know, it's different from the past. In the past, it was, you know, the epidemics were very localized.
Yes.
Now it's spread, and so we have to learn how to live with this and realize that, you know, all of a sudden the economics, the business, and the globalization is not the main thing. What is most important is life, surviving. And so this is something we forgot, because we've been quite lucky after the Second World War. We've had it depends, of course, on the country. Every country has a different history, but basically in the Western world, we've been quite lucky. We didn't have, you know, big issues as far as world wars, and except for localized situations like in ex-Yugoslavia in Europe, or war. We were quite lucky as a generation to not live what our parents did, you know. So
to just
we were not ready for this, you know. We were not ready psychologically for this.
So it kind of changed us, I think, all, and the way we see life after this.
Absolutely. It's also very traumatic, in my opinion, to the young generation, to the people who are in their, you know, 20s, 30s, even teenagers, not being able to go to school and having to, you know, Zoom their lessons from home and stuff like that. So it's, you know, it is a, you know, it's going to have some psychological, you know, it's going to leave something in their hearts. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. So going back to retro music, and especially to Italo disco, what do you think are, you know, the top 3 features that make this kind of music unforgettable? You know, the 80s, the 90s.
Well, you know, Italo disco, I like to think that it started off with a song I wrote called Masterpiece. It was in 1982, because Italo disco was basically new wave that was coming up in that period in England, mixed up with Italian taste, Italian approach, which is melodic and very different, very more romantic compared to the English approach. And so we put that in you know, in the recipe, and so it made it different. It was something different that, you know, the English could not do, the Germans could not do, the Americans even less could do. So it's something typical that with the electronic instruments that came out at that time, because before we didn't have the technology to be able to compete with the Americans or the English, because those people had big budgets, big studios, and they had amazing technology. In Italy at that time, in the 70s, we didn't have that technology. But with the advent of drum machines like the Lindrum and polyphonic synthesizers and stuff like that, all of a sudden we could do great stuff at home, you know, in small studios. And so we could have great sound. And at that point, the sound was not a problem. We only had to put the recipe, the magic of being different. And that was typical Italian, which is melody, atmospheres, romanticism, piano. And so all these things made it very different. And I think that's why the people liked it, because it was different.
Yeah, and I think this is a reason why so many people still like it today. I mean, also myself, when I see a rainy day, I always, I put Insta story, and the song to my Insta story is for sure I like Chopin.
That's great. I mean, it's amazing to think about it, that a song that was made with these small instruments I have here became a worldwide hit, and people know it from Europe to Asia to South America. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Mm-hmm. So after all these years, do you like Chopin the same way?
Well, Chopin is, of course, I studied classical music when I was a teenager, because I wanted to be a guitar player in a progressive rock band, and you had to know a lot of technique to do that. So I had to learn classical music, and I got into those amazing geniuses from the past, like Chopin, like Liszt, like Debussy, and so but the idea around the song is not based on Chopin, not the melody, and also not the fact that I like Chopin. I like Chopin as a quote in a conversation between Chopin and Georges Sand, which was his lover. She was an amazing writer in romantic period in Paris in the 18th century. And she helped him a lot. He was a poor Polish musician who lived out of piano lessons. And she helped him, introduced him to the big world, to Liszt and all the big, amazing romantic artists that are even, the painters, the poets at the time and stuff like that. So the song talks about this relationship, this amazing relationship where this great writer, she helps him to become what he is, and that's what it's all about.
So it's kind of I don't know, an anthem to a like a Bildungsroman for everybody to.
Yeah, it's like it's a description of romanticism, but technically, artistically, the painters, the impressionists, like Monet and Renoir, the big poets like Baudelaire and Verlaine, they all had, even though they were working in different fields, one was a painter, the other a musician, the other was a poet. They were all romantic. They made this choice of being different from the century before, where you had the classical musicians, the classic literature and the classical way of making paintings and stuff. They made a revolution in the 18th century, and describing instead of being just technical, which is the great thing about romanticism, And so I wanted to depict this, to make a picture, of that area in Paris in the 18th century. And I took Georges Sand and Chopin as an example.
So you put the romantic into the new wave of the 80s.
Yeah,
the romanticism.
Of course, the fact of introducing a piano, a theme, and it made it something different. It was a slow track, but it was danceable at the same time. It was electronic, but it was a ballad, harmonically, very complex ballad. So it was a big mixture of everything. And I never thought, it was maybe too complex, in my opinion, to be a big hit. But no, people got in love with it, and it was amazing. It became #1 everywhere in Europe, and that was fantastic, incredible.
Yeah, and I still have the record at home.
That's good.
And I like to play it from time to time.
Well, it's an evergreen now,
Yes,
Many people, many radio stations, especially the national radio stations, they play it all the time, like an evergreen track. Yeah.
And also, at all sorts of parties. Maybe from weddings to retro shows. It's still there.
It's a great moment of of getting people to dance together, and I have many people who got in love, who met each other with a song, and they made children, and make families, and that's great. I mean,
So it was
you know,
definitely a helper.
they, what else? What else can a musician wish?
Yeah.
When the music, sometimes I feel that this song doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to the life of other people, because it's part of their life. And that's the biggest achievement you can hope when you're a musician.
So it's the gift of giving.
Absolutely, yeah, of course. Because you realize that without knowing or without wanting, you're giving people a great reference of their life, of a moment of their life, at least. And it's always a good. I never had people saying that they had a horrible time with the song. I'm
I
quite
think that's
lucky.
impossible.
Most of the people who write, they say, I like Chopin, reminds them of great moments of their childhood or their teenagehood. And that's fantastic.
I'm sure it must be. What do you think about the remixes? Because I know that your hits have been remixed quite often, and they are coming back to life in a new form, in a new way.
Well, remix is a very strong approach, and very dangerous sometimes it can destroy a song. And so I'm always very cautious about remixes, because I like Chopin is a very complex song harmonically. So I know the way DJs work. DJs, on most of the time, they're not musicians. So for them, it's too complicated, and they try to simplify. They may just take one part of the song and repeat it on and on and on forever. And so what they do is that they destroy the original meaning of the song, and
the meaning and the feeling, the
exactly.
idea.
So it's true that they make it sort of danceable, because maybe they change the BPM, they make it faster, or they put new drums to it and all that. But at the same time, they destroy the original feel of the song, because it's a very complex song to remix. I have some other tracks who are simpler, like Masterpiece, or maybe Dolce Vita, which is a song I wrote.
Also Lunatic, I think I heard a good remix of Lunatic.
Yeah, Lunatic also. Yeah, Lunatic has very good remixes. It's because they're simpler, the simple harmonics, and they were born like fast tracks, so they're easier to accelerate. When you accelerate that, I like Chopin, it just sounds weird. It just goes it's not made for that. It's a ballad. So it's very difficult to remix.
So this is one song that should stay as it is.
Yeah, at the end, people compare it to the original, and then they say no, the original is better. So what's the point? I re-recorded the song. The one you have on the digital store is called the classic version. Is my re-recorded one, because I was not happy with the vocal parts on the original. So I re-recorded in '94, and that's the best version. It's very faithful to the original, but the vocals I did much better. I worked better on the way I wanted it, because at that time there was a producer, and they were interfering a lot with this process. But I re-recorded, and that's my favorite version, the '94 version, called classic version. But it's very faithful to the original. It's not a remix. It's just
okay. So it's just the original song with the other vocals. Let's say it like this.
Yeah. Plus, of course, the technology has improved in the meantime, so it's better recorded. It's got more dynamics. So when people play it in big clubs, it sounds better, because the quality of the recording is much better.
Yeah. How do you see the music industry evolving currently in our days, and what do you think will be the future of music?
Well, it's record companies, they have changed their skin. They're not there to sell records anymore, because nobody buys records anymore, except for people who like vinyl. They're buying vinyl.
I do. I buy a lot of records. But because I'm a collector myself, so.
That's very good because, you know, the quality, especially in my opinion, the quality of, I know not many people agree with me, but the quality of CDs, 16 beat, 44 kilohertz recording frequency is the best quality you can offer on a simple package, you know. And it's the most faithful compared to what we are working on, you know. Vinyl is a great object, but to make vinyl sound good, you have to compromise a lot in mastering. You have to cut the frequencies and compress, and I mean, the sound is very different from the original, the way we did it in studio. So I love vinyl. I was brought up with vinyl. There was nothing else than vinyl when I was small. But vinyl changes the original sound. So in my opinion, it's not.
Because, you know, there are audiophiles who say, oh, vinyl is the best. Vinyl gives warmth, gives the digital. CD is digital, it's cold. It's not.
It's not really like that. Vinyl is a great object. We're all romantic. We like the fact that we take it, we put it on a plate, and we play it. But the sound that comes out from there is not the sound we made in the studio. It's a compromise. Just like MP3 is a compromise. MP3 is the same thing. To make a song weigh 4 megabytes instead of 44 megabytes, we have to compromise.
Yes.
And the same process for vinyl, we have to compromise, because otherwise, physically, the diamond head would be, dancing all over the place if we have too many low frequencies. It would be jumping all over the place if we have too many high frequencies. So we have to, I know it's very technical, but when we go mastering, we have to cut low frequencies, we have to cut the high frequencies, we have to compress the sound so you don't have the dynamics. The dynamic is up from silence to very loud. On the vinyl, it's all very compressed. On the CD, of course, if you have better quality digital files like 24 bits and 96 kilohertz frequencies, you have very much very close to what the original master is. Of course, one song with that resolution can weigh 1 gigabyte. So that's too much for selling, for distributing to the people. But that's the best quality you can have.
So you can feel like the moment it was recorded.
Absolutely, that's exactly what we listened to, what we were doing when we mixed it. When we're in the studio, we mix it. This is exactly more or less what you get. While, as I said before, both on MP3 and both on vinyl, there's a lot of compromise.
If you could write a book about your life, how would you call it?
I don't know. It's too complicated at the moment. I wouldn't know really, because if I say masterpiece, people think, who does he think he is? So I don't know. I don't even know if I'll be able to write a book about myself. But I would think it would be interesting because I had a very interesting life. My father was a diplomat. I was born in Beirut. I traveled all my life, and I had an exciting life as a musician. So maybe I could, it could be interesting for somebody to read my story. But I don't know if I could write it myself.
But now that you say, I think masterpiece would be a good name, linking it with your life, seeing your life as a masterpiece.
Yeah, but somebody else should write it, so that nobody can accuse me to think who does he think he is?
Well, that is a good idea.
Yeah, maybe I could get another person to write it. Yeah.
And talking about also in the business field as a producer and as a label manager, how much you think have the dreams that you had at the beginning that have fulfilled by now? How many of them are real?
As a producer, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I was my big issue is that I became successful with Masterpiece. That was also my first track, my first song as a solo artist. So I really didn't have the know-how and the experience of working in the studios a lot when I did that. And so I was missing that, you know. Life made it so that in the 90s, when nobody wanted 80s music anymore, everybody was after house music, you know.
Yeah, and Eurodance and
exactly,
fast beats.
techno or grunge or the rock.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted 80s music anymore. So I found myself not being able to you know, sing live concerts, whatever. So I focused. That's why I did the studio. I said, okay, I have some money. I want to invest and I want to learn what producing is about. You know, how to make a record, how to make a song, how to arrange it. And that's when I did my job that I should have done before I did masterpiece. You know, I did that after. And of course, doing that when I was bigger as an age made me also wiser, and I had to make ends meet as far as financial. You know, I had to get money and to make productions that could sell. You know, not only the artistic things that I liked, and so that forced me to be very pragmatical about, you know, what to do. You know, you have to make a song that sells. So I produced a lot of stuff in the house music field, in the techno field, but I also did every now and then. I produced also some artistic stuff like world music or jazz. I like that very much. It also increased my knowledge of music, you know, which was very, very, very helpful. But I didn't have the same success as a producer, producing other people as much as I was successful as an artist, you know. So the two things have different approaches. But my experience as a producer was fundamental for what I did after the millennium, you know, like in 2008 when I did my album, The Syndrome, and then my next albums. All my experience as a producer was vital because I was doing it, you know, as a producer as well, not only as a singer. So that's where this experience was important for me.
Yes. So you somehow learned to do it all, also the singing, also the writing, and also the producing part.
Absolutely, yeah. It was vital for me, you know, because I finally did not have to depend on other people, you know. I knew how to lay down my ideas, you know, as opposed to before I needed other people to do that.
And now you could only, you know, only talk to yourself and tell to yourself, I want this and I want that, and you could understand perfectly what you wanted.
Absolutely. Now I can choose to call in other people because I expect they can give me more than what I already have, you know. Like if I call a real drummer, I know that a real drummer is going to play, you know, drums, putting something different than as opposed to what I do when I program a drum. You know, I'm not a drummer, so I don't play drums, but I can program a drum. I can make it sound okay. But if I have a real drummer, he's going to make it sound okay, but he's going to put his, you know, his capacities, you know, his art, you know. And so now I know how to call in people when I know they can give me more, you know. So if I have 50%, 70% of something, I know that if I call a musician, a real pianist or a real drummer or a real guitar, I mean, I'm a guitar player, but I know my limits. There are guitarists out there who are much better than me. So I'm going to call them and I know they're going to put in ideas that I didn't think about, and they're going to put, you know, make it richer. So.
So talking about projects and you know, more recent projects, have you worked on new stuff in last month?
I have written a lot of songs, and we'll probably, as soon as maybe in autumn, I'll start recording something, you know, a new album. You know, I'm quite lucky because I can choose the type of project I want to do every time. So my last album was called Italo by Numbers, and it was an album dedicated to Italo disco. And I chose to do a cover album, which I never did before, and in which I basically also sang other people's songs. I re-recorded them using the same instruments from the 80s and analog instruments, and using the same technology. and because I didn't want to make a remix album, I wanted to make something like if it just was just released, you know, just like brand new. And so it was an experience. We had fun. I had a great time doing this with other musicians who came in. And it was a fantastic tour as well. Every time we did the shows, people would freak out because it was like a compilation. It was like a night at the disco of 80s music. You know, all the best Italo tracks live with a band. You know, it was amazing. The album I did before, Reset, was totally an electronic project. The album I did before in 2008, The Syndrome, was a totally rock album with the real drummers, real bass players, real guitarists, very little keyboards.
So
And,
you like
so
to mix it
I'm
up.
lucky. I can choose. If I want to do I don't have a record company who's going to give me orders. You know, I can
Someone to say, do this in the style of I like Chopin. Maybe, you know, maybe you don't want to do it in the style of I like Chopin.
Exactly. I'm lucky enough to be able to choose my own destiny.
And that's great. Also, I know that after the pandemic, there's kind of a tour scheduled. I know you have some shows in the US. Somehow you're about to come to Romania also.
Yeah, there's a show. I hope there will be no issues with the COVID again. There's a show in Cluj. Is that how you pronounce it? Cluj?
Yeah, it's Cluj. Cluj.
Yeah, Cluj. So it's going to be my first time in Cluj. I've been a few times. I've been to, you know, to Bucharest, and I already been in Romania, and I know there's a lot of fans in Romania, and it's great, you know, because Italians, special Romans and Romanians, there's a special link. So we're like, you know, there's same family sort of thing. So it's a great time in Romania. I'm very excited about going to Cluj. I hope it will happen because I'm not sure with those, you know, COVID issues, what's going to go. Because it's
hopefully,
in September.
What we know for now is that it will happen. So I think
great, fantastic.
Things are set up.
So we will have a great time, you know, with also with other great artists from the 80s. So it's going to be a great show.
Yes, and also, what is your best memory about being in Romania?
Well, I had the first time I went to Romania, I did a show by myself. It was an event in Bucharest, and while it was amazing because I didn't know that I had a following. You know, it was my first time, so I was surprised there were people at the show. And while I was singing, it was an outdoors thing, and while I was singing, apparently there was an earthquake.
Oh,
yeah. Except that, of course, I was on stage, I was dancing and moving. I didn't realize, you know. And so the day after, they said, "Did you realize that there was an earthquake while you were singing?" I said, "No, I didn't. You know, why? Really?" So it's a great thing. You know, I will never forget that. It was the first time I sang on an earthquake. You know.
Maybe one song provoked it.
the earth didn't like it. Yeah.
Or maybe it liked it too much and started dancing. Who knows?
Oh yeah, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to say it.
Absolutely.
If you could send a message to the new generation of artists, what would you say to them?
Well, be stubborn. I mean, believe in yourself, work hard, and don't forget to study music, because nowadays technology helps very much. You know, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things you can do with, you know, with a computer or with an iPad, but music is an art. You know, it's like painting. It's like making a sculpture. So there's a technique behind it. You know, and so please study music first, and then apply your knowledge to technology. Don't do the opposite, because you will do something that already somebody else has done. You know, I hear many records that all sound all the same, you know, and it's because people do the records in the same way, using the same technology, the same computers, the same programs, the same sounds. So my advice is learn to make your own sound, you know, whatever instrument, if it's a voice or whatever, it's a guitar or a piano, learn to make yourself personal so that everybody will recognize you on your, you know, after 3 notes.
Mhm.
Don't be like anybody else.
So put some magic to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Make it different.
Mhm. How would you describe the Gazebo universe right now?
Oh, well, I have a lot of following of people who are young and teenagers in the 80s and now are in their 40s, 50s. But they're very, 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 very faithful. They're lovely, and it's a big, big family, you know. Some people travel from one country to the other when I do my shows, you know, which is an amazing thing because, you know, it's a lot of costs, flights, planes, hotels. And so I'm very grateful. I'm very lucky to have this kind of following, you know. It's not easy, you know, nowadays. And so I dedicate time to them. We have always a great time. We always maybe go for dinner all together the day after or something. So it's a big expanded family, and I'm very happy when I see people coming from other countries. When I do my shows in Italy, they have my Italian fans who help them out. Or when they go in other countries, they have my German fans who help them out, or their Greek fans or whatever. It's a big family. It's a big,
it's a community, and people help each other.
Absolutely, yeah, because they do it for the pleasure of being together with my music, okay, but more to, you know, to live out something very nice together, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So it was a way for them to meet and make friends and socialize.
Yeah, because, you know, the social medias, the friendships are virtual. You know the people by their name or their image on, you know, on their cover on Facebook, but then when you meet them, you realize that, you know, these people, they have the same taste, they like the same music, they like the same atmosphere, they have the same age. They only have a different nationality, you know, and when you speak English or French or whatever, you learn how to communicate, and so they become friends, which is an amazing. That's what I love, you know, more than anything else about this. You know, it's a big community of people who would have never met otherwise. You know.
Yeah, it's really interesting because what I like to say this is general about 80s music, that is an international language.
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, this music is what keeps them together. You know, the same story.
So I think it's time we come close to the end of our interview, and I would like you to share a message to your fans and to all the people who will be watching us on YouTube and on dailymagazine.com.
So to all our friends from Daily Magazine, I'm really looking forward to meet you all very soon, some show, Romania or wherever, to listen to some great 80s music together and have fun. Ciao.
I can't wait also to be at your show and again, because I've seen you once in 2014, I think, when you were in Bucharest. Yeah. So thank you once again. It's been a pleasure for me also. And I think after we leave, I will go put again my record of Frederic Chopin.
Great. Enjoy it. Have a great time.
Thank you. Thank you, and hope to see you. Thank you.
Hope to see you soon in Cluj. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.